Greetings everyone, Chef Susan Maddox. It's Downton Abbey tea time. Today we are going to show you some fun sandwiches, shortcakes, lemon curd, so you can have a tea with your friends. Today, my husband, I'm married to a chef, isn't that fun? Chef Michael Maddox is going to join us in the kitchen and he's going to help me make some lemon curd today that we're going to serve in some phyllo cups. But I'm going to get started. We have two great sandwiches for you today. A croissant sandwich with some smoked salmon. We have an open-faced caramelized onion blue cheese sandwich today. And then I am going to make, which I'm going to get started right now on, a lavender almond shortcake with a fruit compote. So let's get started on the shortcake so we can get that in the oven. So I have a bowl here and we're going to put all of our dry ingredients. The great thing about cooking in the kitchen is make your time efficient and enjoyable. I have my ingredients laid out so then I know that I have everything, and then I know that my time will be more efficient, and I look at the recipes that take the longest or need time to cool. So we're going to go ahead and bake those shortcakes, and then Michael can make some lemon curd and that'll cool, and then we can come back to both of those towards the end of our segment. So let's get started. The first recipe, the lavender shortcakes, we're going to put our dry ingredients into the bowl. I have my flour measured. I have my sugar. I'm going to add my almonds that I toasted ahead of time. Please make sure you toast your almonds ahead of time so then you have that wonderful flavor instead of adding them in raw. We're going to go ahead. I have beautiful chopped lavender and my salt. I have my baking powder. And we're going to go ahead and mix this with our hands. Mix this and get this all combined, okay? Then I'm going to move my bowl out of the way and I'm going to cut my butter. I could use a pastry cutter and cut into it, but I'm going to use my hands. But first I want to cut the butter so then when I add it in, it'll be a lot easier. As my Grandma Martin would say, cold hands mean a warm heart and a great pie crust. So if you have hot hands, you might not be able to use your hands like I'm going to, but you could use a pastry cutter. So I'm going to go ahead and combine this in. We want to get our butter combined in before we add our heavy cream. So when you're making this, you could switch out your lavender, and sometimes Michael and I make almond orange shortcakes and do some raspberries with it, some raspberry jam, just something easy, ready to go. Or we'll do lemon. We'll have some lemon and do blackberry. I love blackberry and lemon. And the wonderful thing is, the reason we're sharing this recipe with you is because you can go ahead, make them and freeze them, or you can have it ready and cheat, we won't tell. And buy a great, have on your table some beautiful preserves. Some cherry, some blackberry, and you can have these shortcakes all set and enjoy. Well, I'm almost crumbled, so we want to make sure it's almost, our butter is almost the size of peas, pea-like, and I'm going to invite Michael in. Hi, Michael. If you want to come in and show what we're doing, join us with the camera so you can see.
So you're kind of cutting the butter in, and we could use a pastry cutter or you can do it by fingers. So again, allowing that butter to flake when you're in the shortcakes cook, and also allowing them to steam.
So in we go. We've added our cream. So now, as you can see, I'm going around and I'm combining this together. Okay? And the dough, see how crumbly it is?
Starting to form, yeah, sure. And the butter always needs to be cold for that when you're cutting that in, either by hand or by machine, or a pastry cutter as well.
So see how we're cleaning our bowl? Okay. Now we can go ahead and form it. Oh, you can smell the lavender. And if you don't want to put nuts in, that's fine. You don't have to. Sometimes instead of doing almonds, I'll do lavender with dried cherries, chopped dried cherries or apricots. So, here we go. I'm going to move my bowl, and you can see, look how great that dough is.
Can you make this ahead of time?
You can definitely make it ahead of time. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to pat out my dough. And I have made a one-time recipe. Okay? And usually I'll make a two-time recipe, so then I have extra and then I can freeze them if I want to. So I'm going to quick wash my hands and grab my sheet pan. I have parchment on my sheet pan today, so then it'll be nice and easy to bake. So, wash my hands. I have my towel right here. Here's my sheet pan with parchment. I'm going to set it up here. There we go. And I have my cutter. When you're using your cutter, you want to make sure that you just go down and don't twist. You don't want to twist them because look how great that looks. I can already see the layers in my shortcake.
And a lot of times you can cut them and you flip them over so they rise evenly as well. But just like she said, straight pushing down, which doesn't stretch the
There you go, Michael.
protein.
You can show everybody the beautiful layers in this. So see how nice and even? And like Michael said, once we get them all cut, or invite Michael in the kitchen, he can flip them for you. Thank you.
That just causes them to rise evenly when you do it. We have a conventional oven which there's no fan in that, so we can do like a soldier's row, even across and down, right in line, kind of like we have going there. We can also take that, and you have a convection oven which has fan, higher, low fan. You would actually want to alternate those, and so as you do that, you can see how the wind or the air, not the wind, but the air in the oven will pass through that, giving you a nice even color. So if you have a conventional or a classic standard oven, no fan, you would kind of line them up 3x4 or 4x6, whatever your sheet pan, whatever you wish to do. It depends on the size. If you have a convection oven, which has a fan, high or low fan, you would want to alternate them sort of even brown, even color. Not just for scones, but for shortcakes, all kinds of things. Cookies, same thing. Anything that you're individually you want to do, that's what you would do. So I'm going to leave mine like this, even though we don't have a convection oven, but just to give you a good idea of what's going on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and brush it with some cream.
And then I'm shaping my last, as we call it, a snack. So Michael, can I jump in?
Yeah.
There
and
we
if
go.
you like, I'm using some cream, but you could use milk, you could use half and half. If you like a little more acidic, you could add use buttermilk for that as well. So it depends on what you like. So again, we cut them out, we don't twist our wrists when we punch those out, and we flip them over so that they rise nice and even because of the baking powder, correct in that?
Yes. So, with that being said, we're going to put them in the oven and get these baking while Michael goes ahead and starts doing our...
Do you have your sugar there, your pearl sugar for the...
No, I don't. So, just a second. I have some beautiful pearl sugar.
It's what we use for creme brulee, so grain sugar or pearl sugar.
And Michael is going to show us how to make lemon curd. So let me get the pearl sugar on top. And if you don't have the pearl sugar, that's okay. You could put some more almonds on top.
Granulated sugar works as well.
Granulated sugar works as well. We're just, again, you can purchase pearl sugar at your grocery store. Welcome to online. So let me quick show you. There we go. And off to the oven.
So for your lemon curd, we're going to get these desserts going first. That way it allows time for them to cook, A, on our burner, or B, in the oven. So for this is the lemon curd, and so we did provide a tart crust there, which is wonderful, nice little shortcake bread or shortbread recipe, or pot sucre actually is what that one is. But we're going to use some phyllo cups for that. So I want to go ahead and I want to make our lemon curd. Now we're making a lemon curd, but you could make that an orange curd, you could make that a mango curd, a passion fruit curd. You can buy different juices or cans of nectar, apricot nectar, those kind of things. But we're going to use lemon, more traditional. So in my pan I have some lemon juice, and it calls for 3 lemons. And here's kind of a standard we say in the industry is going to be 1 medium lemon gives you about 1 fluid ounce or 2 tablespoons. If you have a larger lemon, it's going to give you 1.5 fluid ounces or 3 tablespoons. So kind of for the recipe we have 3 lemons. So that's about a little more than, you can say probably about 4 fluid ounces, or you can go a little less if you wish. But if you don't have fresh, you can always kind of go off that. Medium lemons, I would say a fluid ounce, so 3 fluid ounces for that, 3 to 4, depends on how big you want to use. We also have lemon zest. So we take the lemon, and whenever you're zesting lemons, limes, oranges, grapefruit, things like this, whatever it calls for zest, we always want to use, take a little hot water, and if you have some hot water boiling or something, you could use that as well. But take that lemon under hot water, takes the edible wax off of that, also opens the pores up. So I'm going to take our microplane zester, and a lot of people love to go this way. I prefer to, and this is how we teach that, is to hold it in your hand. So as I do that, let's turn that off for a second. I can sneak over in front of you. You can see there how it catches in that tray. So as I'm doing that, you can see how it catches in there, and I can see I'm not getting the pith. I'm getting the beautiful lemon, and it smells very lemony because, again, the hot water took off the edible wax, but also opened the pores up. So I'm going to put that lemon zest. So whenever lemon, lime, orange, or grapefruit, no matter a sweet or savory application, that's what you want to do, is get that great zest off there, especially if you're utilizing that. Even if it calls for just lemon juice or lime juice, and it's not on the recipe, I still like to put a little bit in there. So I'm going to put that in there for her, so Susan will use the rest of that lemon. We have the lemon juice, we have the zest in there as well. I'm going to bring that back to a boil. And on the recipe, we're going to have a couple eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and crack a couple eggs. So we'll put eggs in there, so let that come back to a boil. And we're going to whisk together our eggs and sugar. And it's important for that, when you're whisking that can boil pretty fast, it's important to whisk those whole eggs or a combination. And I'm going to add our sugar inside. Oops. Add our sugar inside. And the thing we don't want to do is add the sugar and walk away. The eggs are hydroscopic, so they'll actually absorb the water, the sugar in the water will too, and it causes you lumps. So whenever you mix whole eggs or egg yolks and sugar, any of those kind of things, is you want to whisk them. That may go crazy, but just to get them combined like so. So now they're together. And then because if I had my sugar, my eggs, or egg yolks, depends on your recipe, this has whole eggs and some sugar, put them in there, whisk them right away. If I would just dump the sugar, walk away, come back in about 5 minutes, you're going to have little hard lumps that will never dissolve, and you're going to have to strain this. Okay? So we're going to temper. So we have our hot lemon zest and juice. We have our egg yolks and sugar here, and I'm going to temper. You can see that bowl's kind of moving. So a technique that we like to do, that we teach, is you can take another pan, put that on top, and if you take a little towel, I'm going to borrow that little towel there, and we're going to turn it and lay that towel, especially a wet towel works really well too, is hold that in there. Now you can see it's going to stay still. We'll move on my board a little bit. But the idea is that I can temper that hot mixture into the whole egg and sugar mixture. We would never take the whole egg and sugar mixture and temper that into the lemon juice. It's called How to Cook an Egg. So now we're going to come over here. We're going to add that back in there and get all that goodness. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that on in just a quick second. Let's get rid of this. And we can get a little rubber spatula, get all that goodness. And sanitation wise, we don't want to go back in this bowl because it has raw products in it. So we're going to get a fresh bowl. And we're going to chill this down a little bit as well later on. So we're going to turn this back on. And here's the key, is you want to keep whisking this constantly. So I'm going to turn my flame down a little bit. And what's happening is the eggs are actually coagulating or thickening in that mixture. So there's no cornstarch, there's no arrowroot, there's no roux or flours in there or hydrocolloids. This is just basically is bringing this back to a boil and allowing those egg yolks, or in this case the whole egg, to coagulate, thicken, almost like a creme anglaise or vanilla sauce. So the key is we don't want that to scorch. So we have our lemon zest and our lemon juice brought to a boil. We took our 2 eggs and we took our 3/4 of a cup of sugar and we whisked the two together, tempered the hot juice and zest into that, returned it to our pan, and now we're bringing that back to a boil. Again, cleaning the sides as you go along. We're going to bring this back to a full boil. Now we're going to cool this down as well. We are going to add a little butter to that. So the butter is a fat, of course, but the butter is going to round it off. So if you're not a huge fan of, oh my gosh, that's very acidic or sour, right? So that's what the purpose of the butter is. You can see it starting to come up now. We're going to turn that down just a little more. And you can see it starting to thicken up on us, which is beautiful, which is what we want. And so the butter is going to add some fat, add some richness to that, and kind of round off or smooth off the flavors with that. You can see how thickened it is, so I'm going to go and shut it off now. And that's beautiful.
Oh, yum. It smells great. Wish you were here.
So I'm going to grab this bowl. And again, you don't want to leave it on there, but you can see how beautiful that is, right? How thick that is. I can even go just another couple seconds real quick. Just take it all the way. But again, now we don't want to scorch, so be careful moving it. Notice I'm moving constantly. I'm taking my whisk and scraping the edge. And just check it. Yeah, nice consistency. So now we'll turn it off.
Into the bowl we go.
This is a fresh bowl. And you notice there's no scorching inside my pot because I got all that goodness out of it. I didn't allow it to scorch, because if it does scorch, you got to make sure you don't want to add that to your mixture. That's not very pleasant to look at.
Michael, if it happens to scorch, could we still use it if we don't scrape the
bottom? Right,
bottom?
as long as you don't scrape where it's scorched, you're fine. I'm going to see the steam coming off this. I'm going to allow this to cool just a little bit. Now, a lot of times my butter is pretty cold. Normally you want to have room temperature butter and room temperature lemon curd before you add the butter to it. But because my butter is a little chilly, I'm probably going to add my butter all the way. We could do this over an ice bath to cool it down, but I need a little bit of warmth here because my butter is so cold. So I'm just going to let that, you can see the steam coming off, so I'm releasing the heat. And traditionally you would cool this down all the way, and then we would chip in our room temperature butter. This other way does work, but more traditional way is the other way I described. So you can see the steam coming off there, and it's still nice and thick. I'm going to add our butter to this now.
And you chop the butter ahead, so don't put one big chunk in.
Correct, yeah. Normally it would try to get a little bit closer to room temperature just for this purpose of this. Okay. So I'm just combining that in, and just enough to bring it together. We're going to cool this down right away. It'll solidify, but not like rock hard. It'll be kind of like a thick pudding per se is what's going to happen to it. It won't be totally set up, but it will be. You'll see when it's nice and cold. So you can see how the butter's melting in, adding richness, and going to smooth off some of that acidity of that. And I think we're there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. So Michael is going to go ahead and put that into our refrigerator.
Allow that to chill.
Shortcakes are cooking, so now we have to get everything else. Look how beautiful.
So still cooking, but looking good.
Okay, we have a lot going on. So, our recipe for our lemon curd, the lemon curd is done, but again, we gave you a tart recipe, but we are going to use our phyllo shells. So I'm going to hand these off to Michael. If you didn't know, these are great. You could put a smoked salmon salad in it. You can do fruit and all the above. So this is all you need to do for your phyllo cups. Ready? Purchase it. You're going to find it in the freezer section. Pull them out, open up the tray, and you're ready to go.
It's a nice little cheater. They sell chocolate ones as well, but this is a nice little cheater for your teas. So
we're going to go ahead and move on. So let's go back to that almond shortcake, and I am going to make the compote that goes with it. So I have my apple, and I'm going to get that cut. I want to cut my apple. I want to use my pear. And the wonderful thing is I can use different fruits that are great for the season. So we're going to cut this up, and I am going to add it in with some beautiful apricots. I have dried cherries to add to it because our shortcake is lavender and almond. So you can put anything you want with it. You can add apricots. So I'm going to turn my pan on. Okay, I am going to put my triple sec in the pan. I'm going to put my orange juice in the pan, my sugar in the pan. I know, I keep saying it. Michael's looking at me going, in the pan. I know, we're having fun in our house. It's a theme. So we're going to put our apples in. And I have some dried cherries. And I have a beautiful pear, so let's get this pear cut. And if I don't have fresh fruit, it happens. I might use a can of diced pears and some dried fruit, okay? So we're going to get this cut, and you want to make sure, see how nice and ripe my pear is? That's what you want. If you're fighting the pear, don't, even though we have all this wonderful liquid and alcohol, it's still going to be tough, okay? So, again, I have my triple sec, my brown sugar, my, right now, just my dried cherries. I'm reconstituting. I've got my apples. Can you see the steam? We're going to add our pears in. And then, let's just quick cut these dried apricots. And you're ready to go. And I can make, just so you know, I can make my compote a day ahead, 2 days ahead. And go ahead and bake those shortcakes the day of my event. Nice, fresh, ready to go. So, with that being said, in goes our fresh fruit with our dry fruit. And like I said, I have triple sec and orange juice. If I want to, and it's a tea party for children, I could use apple juice and orange juice, depending on the fruit that I'm using. So, we want this to go ahead, get our dry fruit to bloom, and go and cook down our fresh fruit. So, if you're following along, our shortcakes are in the oven. Our compote to go with the shortcakes is going to go ahead and reduce here, and the lemon curd is chilling. We have a lot going on. So let's get things moving, and I am going to go ahead, move this pan out of the way, and I am going to start caramelizing my onions for my blue cheese open-faced sandwich. I have onions, and turn this down. I have onions that I am going to go ahead and cook with a little bit of olive oil. Michael, could you turn that flame on for me? For my front one? Thank you. I am julienning some onions, and with this one, you have a blue cheese that I'm using, and my dry fruit, and I'm ready to go. So let's add a little bit of oil. And with this, I could make a closed sandwich, or I could do an open face. So I'm just adding a little bit of oil into my pan. I'm going to quick stir my compote, which smells wonderful. And I have julienne my onions. When you're cutting, you want to make sure you have a towel underneath your board, and for safety, so it doesn't move, we want to get our onions in, and we're going to get the onions cooking first. Now, I can make this mixture, cook the onions, and go ahead and add that to my cheese, but I'm going to cook everything in the pan. So with the onions caramelizing, I can go ahead, add my brown sugar, and you notice brown sugar, we're using our dry fruit, and this one I'm using golden raisins and some croissants, some dried cranberries, and I have some, so I'm going to get this heating up, and I'm going to switch these two pans because this one's almost done. And let's get this, our flame going, get our onions going, and then we're going to add our blue cheese. So, here we go. Onions, olive oil first, add the onions, add the brown sugar, and then add your dried fruits. We can hear our pan moving, set, ready to go. I'm going to grab another spatula so I can keep this moving. I have my beautiful blue cheese, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a chunk off. So I'm ready to go. And if I want, I could add more dried apricots, but this one I think I'm going to stick with it just being our onions. You can hear my pan, our onions, our dried cherries, and our golden raisins. Blue cheese, ready to go. Depends on how stinky you want to be. That's up to you. And our rice wine vinegar. If you don't have rice wine vinegar, you could go ahead and use white wine vinegar. But we're going to go ahead and add that. And I am using a beautiful La Brea whole wheat bread that I purchased at the store. And nice crust on the outside. That's the wonderful thing about this. Here we go. Oh, see, Michael's here and he is ready. So, I hate when I'm out of gas and everything, when you're tired and you're tired of cooking. Invite a friend into the kitchen. Me? I invite Michael. Michael, how's your lemon curd?
It is getting cold, beautiful. I did pull the shortcakes out of the oven. They're cooling down.
Uh-oh, we better stop talking. So, I'm going to put like I said, I have a beautiful whole grain bread. I have my blue cheese that I'm going to add. And I could toast my bread, or I can go ahead and leave it not toasted. That's up to you. Sometimes, depending on the group that I have, I will go ahead and put them and make sandwiches, like a grilled cheese sandwich. But we're waiting for our onions and our onions, brown sugar, and fruit to become to have the liquid dry completely. So while that's drying, let's make another sandwich. Like I said, our compote is set, ready to go. Our onions are cooking, the shortcakes are done, the curd is cooling. We have a lot going. So let's make our smoked salmon sandwich. I'm going to go ahead and make our mixture. We have our lemon. Remember, Michael used the one side. I'm going to go ahead and go back and forth and zest my lemon. And I'm going to put it in a bowl with some Boursin cheese. Now, if you're not familiar with Boursin cheese, the wonderful thing about Boursin, it is set ready to go because it already has some herbs and garlic in it. So, go ahead, open this up. You could use the original fine herb, or you could use the shallot and chive. So, I'm going to take this, take a little bit off, because I'm only making a couple. So, I'm going to take a little bit of my Boursin off, and I can go ahead, wrap it back up, and use it later. And sometimes I just put the Boursin on my cheese, or on my tea tray here, because then I can go ahead and let people spread it themselves. So let's add our blue cheese. Let me quick wash my hands. Okay, and we are going to mix our Boursin with our lemon. Boursin lemon mix. Okay, so Here we go. Michael, I want to show you this because
Yum.
okay, so I'm going to turn this down. I have my compote off, and I'm going to make my croissant sandwich, okay? So, let's open this up. Here we go. We're going to open this up, and I'm using mini croissants. So, I'm going to take some of my lemon boursin, spread it on my croissant. Here we go. Spread it on my croissant, and then I can use the scallions and put this on. Here's our scallions. I can cut our scallions. Sprinkle some scallions onto the boursin. Okay. Then move this out of the way. And if you want, you could chop the scallions and put it into the boursin, or since you're using boursin, you really don't need to use the croissants. That's up to you. Let me quick rinse my knife. And Michael, I think I'm almost ready. Or how are you doing?
Looking great.
Okay, so I am going to cut my cucumber on the bias. What does that mean? See this beautiful angle? I'm using a seedless cucumber, and I want it to be the length of the mini croissant. Okay, let's do that again. Be the length of the mini croissant. So when we eat this, we taste cucumber the total time. So we're going to move this out of the way. I have roasted red pepper. You can purchase roasted red pepper yourself. I'm sorry, you can purchase it, or you can roast the peppers yourself. So I am just going to quick julienne my red pepper. And again, we want to cover the length of the croissant. Now, let's talk smoked salmon. I'm using smoked salmon today, and make sure you taste your smoked salmon, know what type it is, if it's too salty, if it's too smoky flavored. You want to know how it tastes. So when you're at your deli purchasing it, ask them to try some. So we're going to put our smoked salmon on our croissant. Okay, and I like to make sure that I have enough smoked salmon. You know, like my first piece was a little short, so I tried to put a whole piece of smoked salmon on my croissant so it's nice and filling. You want to make sure that it's nice and full. So we have our beautiful, and also I could go ahead and serve the smoked salmon just on the plate. So, are you ready? Smoked salmon is here. I'm going to, here's my spoon. I'm going to go ahead and take my beautiful onion and blue cheese mixture, put some on top of my bread. And then I'm going to grab my shortcakes.
Keep saying scones on the brain, but very, very similar in the technique.
I know, they're the same because I made scones the other day. I made lemon, blueberry, dried blueberry scones. So I have scones on the brain, so totally sorry about that. There's that. Let me get my plate.
Take your time there if you like to.
Yes, thank you. Let me quick dry my plate. And I have my beautiful scone shortcakes, and I am going to, I can cut them open. Ooh, a little too hot to cut them open. Guess what? That means a snack for me. Oh my gosh. I don't wish you were here because it means more scones for me.
And you can also serve them whole and then have the little compote in a little ramekin or something, and that will be beautiful. That's kind of cute too.
So here is our compote. Now all we need is Michael and the lemon curd. Michael, are you ready?
Yep, there you go. We can see how thick that is now that that is cooled down, and it's very, very, it's not soup, it's like almost like a pudding. We have our filos here on a plate.
Oh, thank you.
If you want to go and gently spoon some into there, you could do that.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
And you could make the Italian meringue, but sometimes I have some fresh, fresh cherries that we had kept. Raspberries, other fruits are fine, or just keep it as itself.
Or put a little jam in the bottom and then add your lemon curd. We have a lot of great ideas for you today. And again, welcome to using your 3 tiers for your tea time. So here we go. I have my beautiful lemon curd that Michael made for us. And Michael's putting cherries on top. And we have our wonderful smoked salmon sandwiches that are on our croissant with Boursin cheese. We also have our open face caramelized onion and blue cheese open face sandwiches. Here's our fruit compote with our fruit compote with our
almond shortcakes.
Lavender almond shortcakes. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, I just want to share with you, when you're building your tea tray here, the top level is meant for the smaller scones on top. The middle level should hold sweets and fruits. The bottom level should hold your savory finger sandwiches. But a couple fun teas that, the tea lingo as we say, if you are having cream tea, it's a simple tea service consistent of scones, clotted cream, marmalade, or curd. 11ese is, welcome to 11 o'clock, and we are having English tea, and you eat. We were laughing about eating 11 times a day. An afternoon tea, which is offered in Britain, is an afternoon meal which includes little sandwiches between 2 and 4, clotted cream, and 2 to 3 sweets. But a low tea is an afternoon tea, and it's considered a low tea because you are in comfortable chairs. A royal tea is a tea service using champagne or sherry. And I want to show you, I brought out some sherry glasses. So see how small and delicate these are? You could put these out and have some beautiful sherry and everything. A celebration tea is having cake without any other sweets. So it's cake and tea. And then the high tea is considered, I know what you're thinking, high chairs. We have low tea, low chairs, high tea, high chairs. And this is an afternoon tradition that is considered to be actually a meal for the working class at the end of the day. And they would have cold cuts and potatoes and other food with tea and perhaps a beer. So the Americans confuse the two, and since some London tea houses use the terms interchangeable to keep the tourist happy. So if you're having your high tea, you should be having sandwiches, beer, and potatoes. There's a lot of wonderful information out there at the library. And again, thank you for joining us for our Downton Abbey tea time.
Some great sandwiches, great open-faced sandwiches and croissants, as well as some great sweet items and some different twists that you could do on those as well.
Thank you so much, and have a great day.